Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's Sunday, we're nearing the end, and everyone's energy is hitting, but you have the right coffee apparently. You're here, you're ready to go, and I really appreciate that. People will be viewing this that may or may not have had a chance to see your piece. What would you like someone to know about the piece we're going to be discussing?
Sure. It's a personal doc that I worked on for over the course of 9 years. It's not for everybody, which is totally fine. It's about generational trauma being challenged in my own family, and kind of the generational differences and how we deal with family secrets that have been long held. So, yeah, just trigger warning that there's a lot of heavy stuff in it.
There is. And in the piece with you, there are moments with your mom and older sister. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated that you showed your relationships with each of those two women, because one of the things as women, we don't always get to explore our relationships within our family and the importances and some of the struggles that can come with that. Mm-hmm. How was that for you, working with your mom and your sister? You each have your own relationships with each other and as a whole, and how was that process for you?
I mean, it was challenging. Family is family, and we have a lot of differences. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, so it was just really interesting navigating and challenging navigating the things we've never really talked about in the family, coming from very different places. But I mean, for me, it taught me a lot about empathy, and patience and compassion. And just I learned the hard way how important it is to meet people where they're at.
And for someone to be where you are with that, you are on the rather young side. Mm-hmm. It is something I didn't learn until later in my life. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed with how you did that. Part of your past is having been a photojournalist in other countries. You have had some amazing photographs. Some of these can be seen in the film. Is there a subject matter that you really enjoy going and getting to shoot to spread to the world what that is?
Oh, that's a nice question. That's a lot of left field. I like that. I've spent a lot of, I've been a photojournalist for 10 years in the Middle East and across Asia. And I really enjoyed working on stories about like animal tourism over there. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. Like I'm not like an animal rights person per se. I'm kind of like this story is not being portrayed accurately in my opinion. So I like to kind of cut through and the noise and try to be like, actually, this is what's happening. So I've worked a lot on that, and I most enjoy like diving into subcultures, kind of, like small groups of people that find each other. I love when people find their people, and have something in common, and the stranger the better. So I really, send me to a vacuum conference or like a cat expo or something. Like I wish I spent more of my career kind of doing things like that, so people called me for that. But I think that's what I enjoy most.
And it's fun to find the unique in the world. Mm-hmm. We are going to go back to your piece. Mm-hmm. There's a vibe throughout that I found of healing. Whether it was for yourself, mm-hmm. your family members, others who had been impacted by the topic of this, mm-hmm. It felt like your goal was to allow anyone who needed healing, what could you do to provide that for them? Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
Healing is such an interesting word that a lot of, in this process, my team and I have talked a lot about like this word healing. And it's this word that, is so widespread and used and co-opted for different things. And it's interesting. It really has a different meaning for each person. So I think even in the film, all of us had a different idea of what healing was. And healing for me is, it's brutal. Like it's not like feel good kind of, I don't know. It's like the goop variety of healing. It's doing the really hard, difficult, messy, brutal work of challenging, narratives and looking for the truth and asking hard questions and doing some really deep emotional labor. Whereas I think, for other people, it's just different, that was something that was kind of difficult and that's the tension in the film is we all have our kind of different ideas of what it is to deal with this and cope with this and like heal from it. And, I have my opinions, but it was just, generationally, I think it's really, my generation has so many more tools for this, which is why I made this film, because, I started kind of questioning this all around 24. And my sister was 34 and my mom was 54 at that point in time. And we all started talking about it at the same time together. And those are vastly different life experiences. So it was... Yeah. I mean, for me, I just wanted to give people the opportunity to talk about it. I didn't really have an expectation. I just was like, holy shit. Like, how have we not actually talked about this? Like, we've joked about it and we all know about it. But once I realized the weight, like the true weight, and that came from my own experiences, was, understanding assault and experiencing that, like, holy shit, what the women in my family have been carrying. Like, maybe we should just talk about this. And, different people want different things from the situation. It's not always like criminal justice or this and that. Like, acknowledgement goes so far. And that was kind of my driving force behind it, was like, if we can just acknowledge what has happened to us and each other, I think that would help us move forward a little bit. But even that was difficult, clearly.
Yeah, and as you said, it's been an 8-year, 9-year journey. Toward the end, of course, people kind of went their own ways. Have communications improved again since?
Yeah, the family member, like... What's also interesting is how many family members are not in the film. And there's so many other relationships as a result of this that have like shifted as well. But yeah, I mean, my mom and I's relationship really changed as a result of this, which I did not see coming. I don't think she saw coming. And that's the nature of when you pull the skeletons out of the closet, is like, you don't really know how it's going to land. And even though it's disappointing and frustrating and heartbreaking in a lot of ways, I do think that we're in a more authentic, honest place, which I think is ultimately better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we're still talking. She is very, very proud of me. She has her hang-ups, she really can't see past a lot of her own kind of challenges in the film. And it's just going to take time. It's going to take time. And that's her journey that she's on. And if I've learned anything from the film, it's that, like, I can't be responsible for that.
Correct. And how is your sister doing?
She's doing great.
Good.
Yeah. Good. This was a really beneficial process.
I liked seeing the relationship with you and your sister.
Yeah, we're very different. But it was, and sometimes it's kind of strange because it's like, is this what brings us together? But yeah, no, I just saw her the other day and hung with the kids and stuff. And
I was going to say, you get to be the cool aunt.
I try to be the cool aunt.
It's always fun to have nibblings. the grammatical term for nieces and nephews is nibblings. Reader's Digest.
I like it.
So you do get to see all of them. One other thing I found kind of fascinating that I found in my Google research, totally kind of off topic. Christmas tree farm?
Yeah, I was raised on a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania.
Okay, you guys.
Like Taylor Swift.
Oh, I didn't even put it there. I'm from Texas, so that's like totally.
It's like a magical
unique to me.
thing.
People can cut down their own Christmas trees and stuff. I'm like, wait, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to tell me a little. I mean, Christmas has to be special.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of Christmas for us started at like Thanksgiving. You know, people get their trees after Thanksgiving, and it was like a very small business. It wasn't, it was just like our house, and people just start driving up every day, and they could cut their own, or my dad would go help them. And I would sell little arts and crafts out of the back of his truck to customers, little like clay figurines and stuff. Yeah. And my job on the tree farm was to pick these things called bagworms off the tree that would make cocoons out of the needles. My dad would give me a bucket and pay me like $0.25 a bagworm.
He knew where you were at.
I know.
I mean, it something that needed to be done, and he knew where you were.
Yeah, that was my first job, I guess.
There you go. You started making money at an early age.
Yep.
Learning your value. Do you find when you're in the States versus other countries, do you find that you still do a Christmas tree yourself when you're here in the States? Or
yeah, I mean, I've only been back. I've been out of the country for 10 years, and I've been back for a couple now. Yeah, I try to have a little tree. I don't know. I live in Brooklyn now, so that's probably going to be a little more difficult. I don't know if it's worth the hassle.
You can have the Charlie Brown Christmas tree next year.
I could do the Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
A little twig.
I get like a frond.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to.
Fun questions. I love it.
It was fun.
They're new.
Do you find that that you want to do more photojournalism again? Do you want to do another film? Do you have ideas for another piece?
I have a couple projects in the works that I'm really excited about. Right now, I'm kind of developing out the Great Photo Lovely Life universe, have you? I'm working on a podcast that can help pull a lot of the threads that were presented in the film. I'm working on a short film with the New York Times that will kind of be like an impact-related addition to the feature. And I'm producing another feature doc about the unconventional journey of a woman seeking love and autonomy in her later age. So I'm really excited about that. And I've been a very serious photojournalist for 10 years, and this process of making this film has really stretched some new muscles and reminded me that I'm still the kid, that wants to make little things and sell them out of my dad's truck. I have so much creative expansiveness in me that I still love taking photos, and I will always take the odd assignment. And if the medium's right, pursue that. But I'm really I'm excited to transition to film, and I want to do music videos. I want to do narrative. I really want to get into comedy. So I feel like I'm in this big transitional state, and being really intentional about who I am as an artist and what I want to be doing next.
Fantastic. I love that. And of course, with New York, there's some great opportunities for comedy out there and uniqueness. New York has some very unique people. I mean, not quite like Austin or Portland, but New York has its share of characters, especially on a Friday or Saturday night at the right clubs.
Yeah.
Now that we can all be back at clubs again.
I've been spending a lot of time. I think I'm going to develop a project out of it. I've been spending a lot of time filming and photographing at a place called the Slipper Room, which is one of New York's oldest variety clubs, performance venues. And I love so much that it's this inherently queer, wonderful, creative space. They don't really limit what the artists can do. So that just kind of, it's insane. You go in there on any night and you have no idea what you're going to see. And I've been really, really inspired by the backgrounds of all these performers. It'll be like, I'm here doing stilt work, but I'm a pharmaceutical rep by day. It's Chris Stilts. So yeah, I've been spending a lot of time just I've taken this creative hiatus this year. to get back in touch, give my nervous system a break after this film process.
Oh, yeah.
And just really get back in touch with like, what do I want to do next, and just trusting my gut. And right now it's got me at the slipper room. So
fantastic. I got one little more. What is one piece of self-care advice you would give? Because you had to have done some self-care throughout.
Yes,
but if someone
I'm an Olympian.
If someone needs to do some self-care, what is one piece you would give of a way to do some self-care?
I mean, it's different for everybody. It can be as simple as just like remembering to breathe. I think like 70 or 80% of us are shallow breathers, and just keeping that vagal nerve stimulated, and but like one of the tips I got from a past therapist, which felt a little silly at the time, but they suggested making a self-care menu, and just the exercise of reflecting, what is it actually for me specifically that brings me back into my body, that keeps me calm, that tunes out some of the noise, and just being present enough to remind yourself of what are those things, and then to have that as a reference point for if you are in the thick of something, that you can always go back to that and remember what works for you.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. For those that want to keep an eye and track and follow you, what is the best social media opportunity for that?
Mainly on Instagram, Amanda Mustard. I can't really be bothered with the other ones, so follow me.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you for the fun questions.